Have you ever looked back at your life and thought, why did I spend so much time worrying about what everyone else thought of me? If you have, you are not alone. I've been there too, and after 73 years on this earth, I can honestly say that one of my biggest regrets isn't about missed opportunities, lost money, or even aging. It's about how many years I wasted trying to make everyone else happy, except myself. For most of my life, I thought being kind meant always saying yes. I thought being loved meant keeping the peace, even when it hurt me. I thought if I was good enough, quiet enough, or agreeable enough, people would stay, appreciate me, and finally see my worth. But the truth is, that kind of living drains your spirit. It wears down your joy, bit by bit, until one day you wake up and realize you don't even know who you are anymore. I used to tell myself, it's not a big deal. I'm just being considerate. But deep down, I wasn't being considerate, I was being afraid. Afraid of disappointing others. Afraid of being disliked. Afraid that if I ever said no, people would think I was selfish or ungrateful. And let me tell you something I wish I had learned decades earlier, you can be kind without being a doormat. You can care deeply for people and still protect your peace. It took me years, decades, actually, to realize that trying to please everyone is like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how hard you try, it just slips away, and you're left exhausted, empty, and wondering why you feel invisible. I remember one afternoon, maybe 10 years ago, I was at a family gathering. Everyone was laughing, chatting, and planning the next holiday. I was running around making sure everyone had food, drinks, a place to sit. I barely even ate myself. At one point, my granddaughter came up to me and said, "Grandma, sit down. You haven't stopped moving." And I laughed and said, "Oh, I'm fine. I just want everyone to be happy." But that night, when everyone left, I sat alone in a quiet kitchen with piles of dirty dishes and an aching back, and for the first time, I thought to myself, when was the last time I was truly happy? That question hit me like a wave. I couldn't answer it. Because for so many years, I measured my worth by how others saw me. If people were pleased with me, I felt valuable. If someone was upset, I blamed myself. I apologized even when I wasn't wrong. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken up. And the saddest part? I thought that was love. But love, real love, doesn't demand that you shrink yourself. It doesn't ask you to erase your own needs. It doesn't depend on how much you give up to make others comfortable. Real love grows when you show up as your full, honest self. And that was something I didn't understand until much later in life. You see, when we spend our years trying to please everyone, what we're really doing is chasing approval. And approval is a bottomless pit. You can pour your whole life into it and still feel like you're not enough. People's opinions change. Their moods change. Their expectations change. And if you build your peace around their happiness, your peace will never last. I know that for many of us, especially those who grew up in times when we were taught to keep the peace, respect others, and not make a fuss, it feels unnatural to put ourselves first. But here's what I've learned. Putting yourself first doesn't mean you're selfish, it means you finally respect yourself. When I was younger, I thought being strong meant holding everything together for everyone else. But now, I realize strength also means having the courage to say, "No, that doesn't feel right for me," or "I need time for myself." And let me tell you, the first time you do that, it feels strange, maybe even guilty. But over time, it feels freeing. It feels like you're finally breathing your own air after years of living in someone else's shadow. I once read a quote that said, "The fastest way to lose yourself is to try to be everything to everyone." And I think that's true. When you're constantly bending, adjusting, and trying to fit into everyone's expectations, you slowly disappear. You become what others need, not who you truly are. I see it all the time in people my age. They say, "I just want to keep everyone happy," and I nod because I know that feeling too well. But I also want to tell them, and maybe this is what you need to hear today, it's okay if not everyone is happy with you. It's okay if someone is disappointed. It's okay if they don't understand your choices. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You're only responsible for your own peace, your own heart, and your own truth. When I finally stopped trying to please everyone, something surprising happened. I didn't lose people. The people who truly cared about me stayed, and they started respecting me more. The ones who left? Well, they were only comfortable with me when I was convenient. And that's not real friendship or love. It's funny, the older I get, the more I realize how much of life is wasted worrying about what others think. We spend so many years trying to earn approval, but in the end, the only approval that matters is the one we give ourselves. Now, when I look back, I don't feel angry about the years I lost. I feel grateful I finally learned. Because the peace I have now, the quiet kind that fills me every morning when I wake up and don't feel the need to prove anything, that peace is priceless. And if I could share one thing with anyone watching who feels like they're still living to please everyone else, it's this: it's never too late to choose yourself. You can start today, right now, by taking a deep breath and asking yourself, what do I truly want? Not what they want, not what they expect, but what you want. Because life at this stage isn't about pleasing others anymore. It's about living honestly, peacefully, and finally, freely. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. You know, the hardest part of stopping that lifelong habit of people-pleasing isn't saying no to others, it's saying yes to yourself. Because after decades of putting everyone else first, you almost forget what your own yes even sounds like. When I started changing, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, "That's it, I'm done being a people-pleaser." No, it was more like small, quiet moments where something inside me whispered, "Enough." Like the time I agreed to host yet another family event, even though I was exhausted. I remember standing in the kitchen, looking at the pile of dishes, and feeling tears well up in my eyes. Not because anyone had done anything wrong, but because I realized I was doing it again. I was saying yes when every part of me wanted to say no. That night, after everyone went home, I made myself a promise. I told myself, next time, I'll speak up. And when the next event rolled around, and they asked if I could host again, my heart was pounding, but I took a deep breath and said, I think someone else should take a turn this time. I expected disappointment, maybe even guilt. But you know what happened? They said, "Sure, Mom. You deserve a break." That was it. No drama. No anger. Just a simple acceptance. And I remember thinking, was it really that easy all along? So much of our fear of disappointing people is in our own heads. We imagine they'll be upset, that we'll be seen as selfish or unkind, but often, people adapt. They respect you more when you stand your ground. And even if someone doesn't like it, that's okay. Their reaction is about them, not you. The truth is, every time you choose yourself, you're teaching others how to treat you. You're showing them that your time, energy, and happiness matter. And for someone who's spent a lifetime putting others first, that's one of the most powerful lessons to learn. Now, here's something interesting that happened once I started saying no more often. I began to notice how much lighter I felt. Not just emotionally, but physically. My shoulders weren't so tense. My sleep got better. Even my mornings felt calmer. It was like I had been carrying an invisible backpack of guilt and worry for years, and I finally set it down. I started to rediscover the things I loved, the things I had given up because they didn't fit into someone else's schedule or expectations. I went back to reading in the mornings, just me and a cup of tea by the window. I joined a local art class, something I'd wanted to do for years but always said I didn't have time for. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't doing something to impress anyone or to be productive. I was doing it simply because it made me feel alive. That's one of the biggest gifts of growing older, you know. You finally start realizing what truly matters. When you're young, you're pulled in 100 directions, trying to be the perfect parent, partner, friend, or coworker. You want to be liked, accepted, appreciated. But when you reach your 70s, you begin to see that time is precious. You start to ask, do I really want to spend my remaining years living for someone else's approval? For me, the answer was no. I wanted peace more than I wanted praise. I wanted connection more than I wanted perfection. And I wanted to feel like my life belonged to me again. But here's the thing, choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It just means you care about yourself too. You can still be kind and generous, but you do it from a place of love, not guilt. When you help someone, it's because you want to, not because you're afraid of what they'll think if you don't. There's a big difference between giving freely and giving out of fear. One fills you up, the other empties you. I think a lot of us, especially in our generation, were raised to believe that good people sacrifice. That if we put others first, everything will work out. And while that comes from a good place, it can also lead to resentment. Because when you give and give without ever receiving, eventually, your well runs dry. I used to think setting boundaries meant I was being rude. But I've learned that boundaries are just a way of saying, this is what I can handle, and this is what I can't. It's not about shutting people out, it's about keeping your peace in. And the most amazing thing happens when you start respecting your own boundaries, you attract people who respect them too. You begin to surround yourself with relationships that feel lighter, easier, and more genuine. Conversations become more honest. Time together feels less like an obligation and more like a joy. Because when you're no longer pretending, you make space for real connection, the kind that doesn't depend on pleasing anyone. I remember talking to a friend around my age who said, "But what if people stop needing me?" And I told her, that's the point. You're not here to be needed, you're here to be happy. We laughed, but she understood. So many of us tie our worth to being useful. But you're not just here to serve others, you're here to live, to grow, to enjoy your life, even if that means finally putting yourself at the top of your list. I think the greatest act of love we can give others in this stage of life is showing them what it looks like to live authentically. To show our children, our grandchildren, our friends that it's okay to say no. It's okay to change. It's okay to take care of your own soul. Because when they see us doing that, it gives them permission to do it too. And honestly, I wish I'd known that sooner, that sometimes the most selfless thing you can do is to stop living for everyone else and start living for yourself. Because that's when you become your happiest, truest, and most peaceful version. You know, when I look back now, I don't just see the years I spent trying to please everyone, I also see a woman who was doing her best with what she knew at the time. That's an important truth I had to learn. Regret can weigh heavily on you if you let it, especially as you get older. But holding on to regret doesn't fix the past, it just steals the joy from the days you still have left. For a long time, I used to think about all the times I said yes when I wanted to say no, all the opportunities one missed because I was too worried about what people would think. I'd lie awake some nights and wonder, what would my life have looked like if I had been braver? But one morning, as I was sitting on my porch with my cup of tea, I realized something simple yet powerful, that it's never too late to start being true to yourself. You can't change the years behind you, but you can decide how you'll live the ones ahead. And that shift, from regret to gratitude, changed everything. I began to see those years not as wasted, but as lessons. Every moment I spent trying to make others happy taught me how precious authenticity really is. Every tear I cried from overextending myself became a reminder of how deeply I care. And that caring heart? I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think many of us in our 60s, 70s, and beyond need to hear this. You don't have to carry guilt for being who you used to be. You did what you thought was right, and now you have the wisdom to do better for yourself. That's growth. That's grace. Once I let go of that guilt, I started feeling something I hadn't felt in years, freedom. The freedom to say what I mean, to choose how I spend my time, and to live in a way that feels true. And you know what's funny? The more I started living for myself, the more genuine my relationships became. My friends and family began to see the real me, not the version that said yes to everything, but the one who laughed louder, rested when she needed to, and spoke her truth with kindness. And that's something I wish I could tell my younger self, that being true to yourself doesn't push people away. The right ones will love you even more for it. These days, I've made a little ritual that helps keep me grounded. Every morning, before the day begins, I sit quietly for a few minutes and ask myself one question: what do I need today? Some days, it's something small, a walk in the garden, a phone call with a friend, or a slow breakfast instead of rushing through chores. Other days, it's deeper, maybe forgiveness for an old mistake, or permission to do nothing at all. And the more I practice that, the easier it becomes to listen to that quiet voice inside, the one I ignored for so many years. That voice is your truth. It's your inner compass. And no matter how long you've ignored it, it never disappears. It waits patiently for you to return. I'll be honest with you, I'm not perfect at this. There are still moments when I slip back into old habits, when I feel that familiar urge to please, to keep the peace, to say yes because it's easier. But now, I catch myself. I pause, take a breath, and remember that my peace is worth protecting. And I think that's all we can really do, not to live perfectly, but to live consciously. To make choices that honor who we are now, not who we used to be. If you're watching this and you've spent most of your life trying to be what everyone else needed, I want you to know something: you've done enough. You are enough. You've earned the right to live these years your way, without apology or guilt. It's not selfish to take care of your happiness, it's necessary. You've carried everyone else for so long, it's time to carry yourself with the same love and patience. And maybe that's what growing older really is. It's not about losing youth, it's about gaining peace. It's realizing that you don't have to prove your worth anymore. You've lived, you've loved, you've given, and now, you get to just be. Sometimes I sit and watch the sunset and think about how far I've come. Not in the sense of achievements or success, but in how I feel inside. I used to feel restless, always chasing approval. Now, I feel content. And that, to me, is what real success looks like at this stage of life. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be who you once were. You just need to be honest with yourself, gentle with your heart, and open to joy in its simplest forms. So if no one's told you this lately, it's okay to stop trying so hard. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to live life on your own terms. And if you've been waiting for permission to do that, consider this your sign. Because the truth is, every day you wake up is another chance to live more freely, more joyfully, and more authentically than you did the day before. And there's something beautiful about that, knowing that even at 73, 83, or 93, you can still grow, still change, still discover new pieces of yourself. So take a deep breath, smile, and let go of that old need to please. You've earned your peace. You've earned your happiness. And from one person who's been there to another, you deserve to live the rest of your life for you. If this message touched your heart, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, what's one thing you're learning to let go of? I read every story, and I promise, your words might inspire someone else who needs to hear them today. And if this video made you think or smile, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more gentle conversations like this, because no matter your age, you still have so much life and wisdom to share with the world. Here's to you, to peace, to freedom, and to living your most authentic life from this day forward.